Hi there, and welcome to Biohacking Beauty, the show where we decode the science of aging beautifully and give you a real actionable tools kit to optimize your skin, your body, and your overall vitality. I'm your host, Amitai Eshel, CEO of Young Goose, the biohacking skincare brand designed to rejuvenate your skin at the cellular level. If you're obsessed with longevity, glowing skin, and staying strong from the inside out, you're in the right place. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies the connection between movement, mindfulness, and longevity. It's Kristin McGee. You probably know her as one of the original yoga instructors at Peloton, but Kristen has been a leader in the wellness space for over 30 years. She's a yoga and fitness icon, a mom of three, and the founder of Kristin McGee Movement, where she helps people of all backgrounds integrate mindful movement into their daily lives. In this episode, we explore how movement impacts skin health and aging, the connection between the body, mind, and beauty, and how to build a movement practice that supports energy, confidence, and longevity, even with a packed schedule. Plus, Kristen has a brand new book coming out May 6th. It's called Somatic Movement for Dummies, and it's a powerful guide to reconnecting with your body, relieving stress, and moving in a way that supports lifelong well being. You definitely want to check that out. And don't forget, if you love what we're doing here, and want to upgrade your skincare game, head to younggoose.com and use code podcast10 at checkout for 10% off your first order. All right, let's jump in with Kristen McGee. All right, Kristen, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I told you off air that, first of all, you're an extremely cool person. And the minute we met each other at Eudaimonia, which is a newer conference that's coming to the scene, I'm like, everyone probably more people know you than they know us, but everyone in our sphere needs to experience the beautiful soul that is you. So you immediately got an invite to the podcast. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much. I felt the same way the second I met you and your wife. I was like, whoa, you just have an energy that it's super contagious, and I love it.
That is crack. We spray it at the booth,
Yes,
and
you
you are immediately. But listen. So let's jump into the fact that you don't look it, but you've been, moving, teaching, and inspiring, people for over 30 years.
Yes.
So I think the first what I'm interested in is like how's your philosophy around movement evolved with age, especially you're a mom of three, right?
Mm-hmm. Three. I have an 11-year-old and 8-year-old twins.
Yeah.
And my kids are younger, especially as an older mom. I'm 51 now. And I feel like it's that silly old adage, though, like move it or lose it. I really do think that the things that you do in your 20s and even younger, really, if we can get kids moving at a young age and keep that integrated into their life forever, it's so important. But what you do in your 20s sets you up for your 30s, and your 30s for your 40s. Like with skincare, even if you don't start really working on keeping your skin healthy at a younger age, it's really hard to then reverse the damage or go back in time, especially with like sunspots and sunscreen and aging in that way. And I feel like it's a similar thing with movement, that if you aren't really taking care of your heart, your lungs, your bones, your muscles from an early age, it's not impossible. I think it's never too late to start. And I love it when people make these dramatic turnarounds or these comebacks. Maybe they were athletes when they were kids and kind of gave it up and then come back into it. For me, it's just always been a part of my life. And I personally feel that if I'm not moving, I just don't feel good. And for me, it's a very intrinsic thing, less so an external, looking at myself from the outside and what I have to do. It's more how I feel on the inside. That is why I wrote the book, Somatic Exercises for Dummies, that comes out in May. And yoga is a very somatic exercise as well. It's all about how do you feel? What are you feeling from the inside? How does this movement make you feel? How does it energize you throughout your day? How does it set you up for success in so many other areas of your life?
Wow,
So I feel like it's
100%.
more like working in as opposed to working out almost.
Uh, you, it's crazy because sometimes, by the way, I get comments
Mm-hmm.
that are, hey, this guy is wearing the same shirt over and over again. So the reason I'm saying that is because this is my second podcast today.
Okay.
And um and the first podcast I recorded today was with a gut microbiome specialist.
Oh, cool.
And he was saying that our microbiome is a reflection of what we do, or it's a kind of a log of what we do in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And a microbiome of a person that is active reflects that, and vice versa. So
Wow.
it is actually working in quite literally,
Yes.
that's it's
Oh,
it's
that's
awesome that,
true.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And so within that, and within the context of somatic exercise, does it match, or do you need to match um your type of movement to compensate for other things that happen in your life? I'll give you like a so I think it was probably 15 years ago that you were acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long ago you stopped acting, but I know that you were in 30 Rock, I believe. So that's
Yes.
15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like assuming, because I'm really uneducated on that subject, that you were in trailers like a lot. You probably were in confined spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Do you change your movement because of that? Or do you try and you're saying, hey, no, that's what I want my body to do, and I'm hammering at it? How do you,
Well, I think that's
yeah.
really interesting, and I love that you brought that up because I in a roundabout way ended up landing this role of Caitlin, the yoga aerobics instructor on 30 Rock, because I had been working with Tina Fey when
Mm.
she was filming Date Night, and she
Oh.
was in the same, it's funny, blue dress the entire time. It was strapless, and the director producer said, she really wants her upper body to look great. I think yoga would be awesome for her. And I would go to Tina's trailer and we would literally find space in her trailer to do sun salutations and yoga postures and really concentrate on just getting her strong and
Mhm.
feeling good and confident for her part. And I do think that that's what's beautiful about yoga, is that it's a very portable exercise and it's body weight. So you can do a lot of that movement, whether you're right next to your trailer, whether you're, on the lawn and the grass, if you're like wherever your shooting location is, or even inside the trailer, there's lots of cool ways that you can make it work. And so I think that that's been such a great mainstay for me. I also strength train and I also do Pilates and I also love to get out and hike and run and ski and play tennis, but yoga is my main form of exercise that I've always enjoyed. And I do love the fact that it can really be done pretty much anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. And by anyone, like I suck at
No, you
yoga
don't.
and I still do yoga. I try to do it every day.
Good.
Although I every day I seem to suck every day. Uh so
But there is no good or bad with yoga. I feel like
that's
it's more right. No
fantastic. That's
judgment.
exactly what I tell myself every
Yep.
time there is no handstand in sight. But within the confines of, skin health, like
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel that movement and mindfulness, which that's part of why I love yoga, influence how our skin looks, especially as we age, right? Like how does it kind of correspond with that?
Mm-hmm. I think
um
there's two things, because
yeah.
one is the stress relieving benefits
Hmm.
of any type of exercise. I think people who just can get out there and move their bodies, you're doing so much for your mental state. You're really helping with stress relief and stress management and anxiety, and all of that can really manifest in on our skin, right?
Hmm.
And the more stressed we are, the more prone we are to either breakouts or dry spot, whatever it is. I'm sure you know more about this than I do, but our skin is our largest organ. And so what we are also doing is, when we're doing practices like yoga that are great for the lymphatic system and for oxygenating our entire body, all of our cells and our
Yeah.
skin, or when we're even sweating and moving and kind of getting rid of some of the toxins and stuff.
Hmm.
It's just super healthy for our skin health as well. So
Yeah.
the one thing where I would say the caveat is for those who love to run outside and cycle outside and ski outside, you just have to be very mindful of also protecting your skin from the outside. So you're
Hmm.
making sure you're wearing high quality sunscreen and or a cap, a baseball cap, just being mindful of protecting your skin as well. But I do think the benefits of exercise are so important for skin health.
Yes. And I would even add to that because a lot of people don't realize that within cities, as long as we're talking, because the studies have been done in
Mhm.
urban areas, we are even more aging even faster due to things like pollution
Oh, yes.
or other types of environmental stressors than we are
Mhm.
even from the sun. And most people don't know that inadvertently sunscreens, like higher end sunscreens, also protect against that to some extent because most sunscreens reinforce the SPF with
Mm.
antioxidants.
Okay.
Uh, Obviously, it's price dependent, but
It's dependent.
at the end of the day, sun creates free radicals. So for a long time, we've known that if you add antioxidants to the SPF, you're kind of increasing the ability of the SPF to kind of mitigate damage.
Oh,
So
that's
inadvertently, for, heavy metals, glyphosates, exhaust, all of those things, what they do in the skin is also create free radicals.
mhm.
So obviously, you could go to the biohacking space where company like ourselves or OneSkin or other companies, they have ingredients that even go a little bit more, kind of anal around that subject. But
Mhm.
any most sunscreens today would have a polyphenol and accents which would help with that. So even if it's a gloomy day, I'd still do it. Or even if you have a
Yes.
hat on, yeah.
Yes, I agree. And even I had a makeup artist recently. I did this photo shoot and she said, even if you're inside for majority of the day, because you're also getting the pollutants from this she said something about the screens, your screens that you're looking at and the lighting. Some I never realized, but
Yeah.
so it's just important to put it on every day.
Yes, yes. Especially if you are screens are I mean, y- that is extremely true.
Mhm.
And there are ways. So, you know, obviously at the end of the day, this podcast helps us sell product, but I actually cringe a little bit if I take low hanging fruits like opportunities.
Yes.
So I like to give more general, broader strokes.
Okay.
But tinted sunscreens, normally mineral sunscreens, but ones that have a iron oxides that give them a tint
Mhm.
would protect against blue light as well, artificial light
Oh,
as
that's
well.
cool.
If
Okay.
and the best ingredient, if people want to go crazy, is to look for an ingredient called ectoin,
Okay.
which is from from your neck of the woods, if you would, because if you see the colorful colors around the pools at Yellowstone,
Mhm.
what that is, these are extremophiles or extremolites. These are like little bacteria that likes extreme
Oh.
climates, and that's what protects them against those extreme climates, and that also is good against blue light and stuff
Wow.
like that. Yeah.
Do
So
you have a sunscreen? I know I use your okay, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so we have one that the idea when we kind of got into the lab was actually the idea was a discussion around people are aging. About 60% of white people are aging in the Western world has nothing to do with UV.
Oh, interesting.
Well, 20% is your biology or
Okay.
things that you're doing internally, and then 80%, 75, 80% is your exposure to the environment.
Okay.
And within that, the now the majority shifts around 60% of that is anything from pollution indoors to everything that we said until now, right?
Mhm.
And we're saying also, so 60% of protection is, at least if it's addressed, it's by mistake. So we want to kind of make sure that this is something we treat as seriously. So we have like a few complexes that make sure we're protecting anything from against anything from like UV radiation to
Mhm.
EMF,
Yeah.
and then everything in between. EMF
Mm.
is something a little tricky to defend without putting like a Faraday cage on your skin, but we found a way to do it with herbs.
Oh, that's
So that's the idea. But in a broader stroke, a tint in sunscreen actually really helps against artificial blue light. But I agree with that makeup artist.
and that's
I
good to know because a tinted sunscreen is so easy for women to use.
mhm,
And
I
it's a
know.
one step. You don't even
Yes.
need to buy an extra cover up or concealer or, I've never liked wearing foundation because I always feel like it looks too heavy and it makes me feel like I'm wearing makeup, which I don't like to wear makeup.
Mhm.
So tinted sunscreen is ideal.
Correct. I would say so. That's a detriment to our sunscreen. It's not real tint. It's
Okay.
literally to serve the purpose of anti-blue.
Oh, okay.
So
There's a tint in there that
it looks
combats
tinted. Yeah,
anti-blue.
it looks
Okay.
tinted, but when you apply it on the skin, it doesn't. It gives
You
you
don't
like a
see as much.
nice. No, it doesn't really. It's not really. I mean, there are like Ulta MD has a good one.
Oh, that's nice.
Um,
You also plug other.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
and ours is $125. So I would be kind of a jerk if I didn't say, yeah, you could. There are other things
Yours
that
sounds
work.
worth it. So with yours, I would use yours but it doesn't leave like a white sheen.
No. So actually, that's something I've never spoken about before, but you could see us Previ's other brands, the way that they use the zinc oxide, the
Mhm.
physical sunblock, is they mush it, or we do it as well. We literally physical sunblock, zinc oxide, they
Mhm.
look like golf balls.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they take a lot of so the
Yes.
sun hits them at many angles,
Mhm.
which propagates that white color. It's just like statistically more bounces off of that in
Okay.
a specific angle. So when you flatten it like a pizza, you get the same cover. Actually, you get better coverage because they can tile on top of each other,
Oh, cool.
but you don't get the sheen without sacrificing anything, as opposed to older companies. What they would do is they would nano size it, but then it just absorbs into your skin, which doesn't do anything. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yours is better then because I don't want what I was worried about was the white.
Mhm.
Like that
It's white, but it's also actually ends up being very heavy on
yeah.
the skin.
True. True.
So that doesn't do any of it. What I would use white though, if you were to have um, a medication,
Okay.
or I'll give an example. So rosacea,
Mhm.
one of the things to try first for rosacea is to go to like your local pharmacy and buy 0.5% ivermectin cream
Oh,
for $35.
okay.
Um, and then putting actually zinc ox like that's type of like a really whitish color thing. It's gonna
Okay.
kind of push it in. It's gonna make sure it doesn't like get wiped off and stuff. So
Okay.
that's fine. That's good. But in general, you don't you in air quotes I'm saying, like, you don't have to suffer anymore. Like their
Yes. Thank goodness.
technology has advanced.
Yes.
Um okay, cool. I did wanna ask you about something that I think is a hot topic, at least for us right now. I would not exaggerate if I said like over 5,000 people that said, I love the facial products. What about a body product? And
Oh.
what I think the opportunity that you have with body care
Mhm.
is that you can really support it by having thicker muscles or maintaining muscle tone, etc., and even bone structure.
Uh-huh.
So let's talk how does like moving your body contribute to long-term beauty and skin vitality as far as the body is concerned, or whatever you say. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's so important for elastin, collagen,
Yeah.
strength training. I've really been doing so much research on how important strength training is, and especially for women and men. But as we age, we lose. like 0.8% muscle mass, I don't know, over a certain amount of years. But every
Yeah.
year, similar to collagen, similar to
Yeah.
certain things that our body stops, NAD, that stops producing after a certain point. And so there's ways that you can add supplements, but I always feel like it's a two-prong approach. Like you can't just take something and think it's going to be a quick fix. Same with skincare. You
Yeah.
can't just put something on your skin and that's it. Like you
Yeah.
want to do something inside out and outside in. And I
Hmm.
think that's always when things work the best, when you're thinking about your body from the inside out, but then also helping it from the outside in. And strength training is so key and so beneficial
Yeah.
because we want to maintain that muscle mass or even still build muscle mass. It's kind of exciting, even though they say as you age, you start to lose muscle mass. They've also done a lot of studies where women in their like perimenopausal, postmenopausal years, if they start strength training, they also have this capacity eating more protein and strength training at the same time to build muscle.
Hmm.
So I think that's really exciting. And for us to know that we can do it if we, give ourselves that progressive overload. It's hard because you have to be pretty good about pushing yourself hard
Yeah.
enough, right? And
Yes.
taxing your body so that you can build muscle, but it's very, very important. And that plus I think mobility. That's why I always love flow, sculpt, and connect is what I talk about the buckets on my website, but the flow and the mobility work, keeping your joints mobile, and then the sculpt, that whole like strengthening component, and then the connection, that's just the mind body connection because the more we're aware of what's going on with ourselves, the better we are, the better able we are to treat ourselves well and to
Hmm.
listen to our bodies. And as it's kind of a really nice roller coaster effect or a snowball effect, if you're doing things that feel good and set yourself up for success, your body starts to actually like recover faster and rejuvenate better. And then you start
Yeah.
to notice those benefits. Oh, my skin is looking better. I'm feeling healthier. I'm more energized.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. I would even say even the opposite is like even if looking at, so for me, the biggest benefit meditation ever gave me, because unfortunately, I'm a very not sensitive guy towards my own thoughts or things like
Oh,
that.
you're harsh
Meditate.
critic. You're hard on yourself.
That's actually probably Anastasia is harder on me. No, I'm kidding.
She
But
doesn't seem like she can be.
no. But what I want to say is the best gift I ever received. I would go through meditation, guidance, go to like
Mhm.
retreats, whatever. But there was never the eureka moment of, oh, I've climbed the stage in my whatever.
Mhm.
But the one thing that really changed things for me was that someone said, I think it was Sam Harris, by the way, that said, it's not the ability to be, thoughtless or to view your own thoughts. It's like reps where you get into a certain space, you get off of that space, you catch yourself, you get back on that space. This is the mindful, like literally, these are the reps, like lifting weights or whatever.
Yes.
And I think to connect to what you're saying about that mind body connection and that within the practice, yes, it's true that we're building something and that it is the day after day of grind that provides the results that we see. But the same practice also teaches us to pick ourselves up from wherever we are, catch ourselves wherever we are,
Mhm.
and to understand that part of the process, by the way, even applying skincare, okay, even applying the sunscreen, anything,
Yes. Yes.
taking the supplements, whatever that is, it is the picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and doing whatever is the correct thing to do. Again, that is the journey. Like that's the goal.
That's so true. One of my
Yeah.
favorite yoga teachers used to always say, the goal of the yoga practice isn't to prevent the fall. We're all going to fall and we're going to fall over and over and over again. The goal is to bounce back. To your
Hmm.
point, the goal is to build the resiliency and that muscle, response. So the goal of my meditation practice is to every time I start to judge or think or whatever,
Yeah.
I come back to my breath, I come back to my mantra. And then I notice if I'm reactive in my life, as opposed to then taking it out on someone I love, I can come back to my breath, and then I can respond with a great, loving way as a mom or as a friend or as a, it's like all of, like you were saying, and it's not like I'm always going to be able to do it. But then when I don't react in a way I want to, again, it's that practice of like, okay, that time I messed up, but I'm going to do it
Yeah.
again, and I'm going to do it better. And I'm going to get, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And you're right, that meditation practice, like Watkins said, it's okay to get lit or lost in thought, because that's actually part of the process too. And
Yeah.
you don't really even, you don't even know that you're in that really meditative state until a thought comes up and takes you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, you're like, it's kind of like that back and forth ping pong game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of keeps on, you just keep doing it. But you'll
Yeah.
notice, like through the repetition, the magic comes. And I think I notice it even more, kind of like skincare though. Like notice more when I miss a meditation than when I'm being consistent with it. Like the day I miss it is when I'm like, oh, I can see why I'm so much more reactive. The day you forget, the night you forget to, or you don't wash your face and moisturize before you go to bed, it's the next morning that you're like, oh, now I see why it's so important to
Yeah.
keep up with the consistency.
Yes, I think that I think we're very I think it's also easier for us as human beings to notice lack rather than incremental gain,
True. That's true.
incremental gain is we're just not built both
Mhm.
both positive and negative. I mean, if we were great at noticing that, McDonald's would be out of business
Business.
within a year of its inception. Actually, I watched the founder movie, so maybe a bit longer. But anyway, but we were not. So I think a part of like good mindfulness is to almost like make sure we notice that the lack, right? Make sure
Mhm.
we understand the difference between a good
Mhm.
habit and one that's broken, because the other part of it, even if we notice one day that we have achieved something, it's very hard to hold on to that feeling or to experience the good, right? The incremental change, the benefits of that. Like,
Very true.
yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, yoga and longevity. You helped launch yoga classes at Peloton. Actually, the reason I found out about it is that when we when we were at our booth at the conference, you had a few people like that told me like how I watched her on Peloton or
Well done,
something like
girl.
that. So, um, do you see yoga as like a biohacking tool, or is it more of a workout to you? How do you rope people in?
Well, I see yoga as a practice.
Hmm.
And because it's steeped in so many years of tradition and
Hmm.
philosophy and, 5,000 years of practice. And I think the ancient yogis were almost way ahead of their time because they were fascinated with longevity
Yeah.
and practices, both physical and spiritual and
Hmm.
mental, that they could do to understand the body.
Hmm.
And, you know, it's almost like they have these rituals too, where like they die to understand what it's like to live, or they
Yeah.
go inward to understand what it's like to come outward. And there's the
Hmm.
yin and the yang and the sun and the moon, and the hatha yoga is all about connecting and uniting the mind
Hmm.
and the body. And so I think that less the asana part is, yes, definitely the physical part of yoga, but there's this whole 8 limb path of yoga where we have the yamas and the niyamas, the observances and the restraints, and then the physical practice, and then the breath work, and then the sense withdrawal, and then the concentration, and then the meditation, and then eventually you get to samadhi or bliss. And so I
Yeah.
think that we're so lucky to have bodies and to have these physical vessels that we can experience our spirit, our soul inside of us, however, whatever your religious beliefs are, but just to have a vessel that we should really be taken care of, because we're
Yeah.
so fortunate that we were given this opportunity. And so I think it's really cool to even look at some of the Kriya, the cleansing exercises that ancient yogis used to do with like the neti pot, or,
Yeah.
the rope down
Yeah.
the throat and back up. So I think yoga, if people just start doing it, it's such a practice that speaks for itself, but you just
Hmm.
have to experience it.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes the hardest part is just getting people in through the door and making it very accessible so they don't, they'll be, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible. I'm like, well, that's
Mm.
like saying you can't brush your teeth because they're dirty. Like you do yoga because you're not flexible to gain more flexibility. You brush your teeth because, so I feel like just making it very welcoming and getting
Hmm.
people in the door and meeting them where they're at and letting them experience it for themselves. And they can then decide to take it however they want, wherever they want to. If they want to get more into the philosophy, great. If they want to just keep it a physical practice, great. But I do think once you start connecting your mind and your body with your breath, it changes so many things on a physiological level. So I think that's where yoga can really, and where it can be a longevity tool,
Yeah.
because again, the whole um, stress being one of the most impactful things in aging, or one of the
Eh,
main reasons why we age faster than we should, because of stressors, whether they're mental or physical or environmental, right? So the
yeah.
more we can eliminate those, the better we are, the
Yes,
healthier
yes,
we
yes, yes, 100%. And I would say, that for me, especially I remember the first couple years with Young Goose, it was so stressful,
I bet.
with COVID and everything, and really pivoting to a online model. We actually thought we are going to only sell to practitioners because, no one knew what NAD was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole business plan. And then as seemingly overnight, practitioners weren't even open for a while,
Yeah.
especially not worldwide. In America, it even released a little bit sooner. And for me, definitely, jujitsu, which is extremely taxing, was the number one way to relieve stress. But there
Okay.
is a very finite limit to how much you can do that.
Oh, true.
So yoga definitely is another way to move energy around your body and kind of, break it down from its kind of negative impact.
Yes.
And there is by the way, there is a direct link between stress and skin. Obviously, that's kind of, I mean, any US president before and after photo will tell you that. But
Uh-huh.
uh, these are called MMPs, and they're triggered
That's
by
funny.
cortisol.
US president before and after photo.
That's Listen, that is insane. Like
You're
if you see
funny.
Obama, like before and after, that's like it looks like his dad.
Oh, isn't that it's too
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. I mean, I mean,
Mhm.
that's the most stressful job in the world, I would
In the
assume.
world, you're right.
But what would you say to people who are more like maybe like me before I needed yoga? The people that say that it's too gentle to make a difference. What would you say?
Oh, well, that's the thing, is that it is so, I think, incredibly taxing,
Hmm.
um, and hard, and taxing in a good way. It
Yeah.
gets your body and your muscles, like there'll be a pose that you'll hold and you're just like, wow, this is
Hmm.
so intense. It's working every single part of my body. And that's what I love too about the yogis, is like we never leave anything out. We're thinking
Hmm.
about our big toe, where our pinky toe is, where our hands are in space, where our hips are, what's going on with our core, pelvic floor. They have this word mula bandha, which is your root lock, what's going on with your breathing, and then where is your mind. And so I think that that was maybe the biggest misconception. And when I took my first yoga class, I was like, whoa, that was
Hmm.
tough. I had no idea
Yeah.
it was going to be so hard. And that's what's nice too about the yoga practice, is there's just so many different styles and levels. So for someone who needs a much gentler form to start with, there's even chair yoga, and you can make your practice very gentle, but you can also make it quite rigorous. And the Ashtanga yoga practice, I mean, that was like Patabi Joyce made that for young boys to have something to do after school and to get them off the streets and keep them from running around and creating, havoc. And
Yeah.
it's a very, very hard practice. It's intense. So
Yeah.
the one thing too is when I was strength training a lot more, I had this wonderful strength training coach, and she said, the stronger you get in your strength training practice, the more you can make your yoga practice a spiritual practice, because now it's less physically hard. Now you can
Yeah.
actually just be in the movements and be with your breath and really be in the flow, which I love. Because the
I,
stronger you get, the less, the more you can just make your
Yeah.
practice a moving meditation.
I would say it's still hard.
It's
Actually,
not hard.
still hard. I remember again, first class that I took, I was like, beforehand, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna be hard enough. Maybe I should do Bikram
Oh, no.
yoga for my first class. And after the first class, which was not Bikram yoga, I told myself I'm never gonna do Bikram yoga. It's
Yeah.
like I cannot imagine this in a room that I also have a hard time breathing.
At 120
Yeah.
degrees. Yoga almost breaks you down to build you back up in a way too.
Yeah.
It really, it really gets you like
hmm
in a way that nothing else does, I think.
I agree.
Even some of those really intense hip openers, it just challenges you in a way that's like,
Yeah.
you got this, but there's moments when you want to give up. And that's why it
Yeah.
helped me even when I ran my first marathon last year. I'm not a runner at all.
Wow.
And I relied on my yoga practice in between to keep me sane
Wow.
and mobile. But I would rely on those meditations when I was running and the mantras and
Yeah.
reminder that, look, I can do hard things. So one foot in front of another.
Yeah. I completely agree. And so within your experience, obviously you've seen many transformations. What are the underrated anti-aging benefits that most people miss
Oh,
around
first and
movement
foremost,
yoga?
I would always say sleep.
Hmm. Yeah.
I really do think sleep is so important. And more so than even the amount of hours, which I do think is important. I think it needs to be like a good amount, but it's like that sleep schedule. The same
Yeah.
way we were talking about scheduling things, keeping consistency,
Yeah.
kind of always going to bed around the same time and trying to wake up around the same time. I find that
Yes.
that really gets me in a good rhythm. And so I think sleep is underrated and people do need to try as stressful as it can be, even when you're running your own business and trying to start it. I'm sure you had many sleepless nights or when you're a new parent. And there's lots of times when it's hard, but I do think
Yeah.
sleep is important.
I agree.
And hydration,
Yeah.
another easy one that you can just make sure you're staying hydrated, drinking enough water throughout the day.
Yeah.
The stress relief, like we were talking about, and people who are afraid to meditate, even if you just stay, wake up and do 5 minutes in the morning of some breath work and focus. And,
hmm
it doesn't have, you can just do it against your bed, wake up, go to the bathroom if you need to, sit at your bed and give yourself a few moments to relax, look inward, do some breathing. Maybe at night you do it before you go to bed. I think all those three things are very easy and they don't, you don't really have to do much or change much about your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think connection is something we're missing a bit, especially now, and maybe more so in this culture. I noticed I just led a retreat to in Bordeaux in France, and I did notice something about the way people connect more in
Yeah. Because
person.
they're drunk. It's
Yeah,
Bordeaux. They're
maybe
drinking
they drink
wine.
too much, but they meet up, they sit down for a meal, they take their time, they connect. There's
hmm
less cell phone usage, it seems. I just feel like there's something to be said about making some good connections and seeing people in person is really
Yeah.
nice.
I couldn't agree more. Would with that was you did give some great tips around like not changing your schedule, but getting some mindfulness in.
Mhm.
However, you are a mom of three running your own brand. So,
Yes.
what are some of your movement tips that you have for like super busy people who, in air quotes, like don't have the time to take care of themselves?
Mhm. I'm super lucky that I have active boys. I
hmm
think as parents, we forget that movement doesn't have to be formal and it
Yeah.
can be built in with your kids because if you are a parent, we have this little mountain that we love to hike, and the boys and I will do it all the time. They love it. And so for me, on those days that I'm like, oh, I didn't really get a lot of steps in, I didn't really get a lot of workout in, it's built in because we go over, we take a hike, and then there's an entire jungle gym area, and I'll grab the bars and work on pull-ups. And, I can do like little squats on the park benches when they're doing the swings and doing whatever they want to. So I feel like if you find the fun in exercise as well, it's more likely that you're going to do it.
Yeah.
When it's fun, when we all jump on bikes and go for a bike ride together, it's really fun. When you meet up with a friend, if you have a business meeting, I had a meeting the other day and I actually asked the person, "Hey, do you mind if I walk and talk?" Because I would rather have, I knew I needed to do the meeting, but I was one of those where I was back to back all day. And they were like, "Yeah, great. That sounds awesome." And then they were like, "Wow, it's so beautiful where you are." So I felt
Yeah.
like it's sometimes we overthink it, and it's really not as hard as it should be because it feels so good. And I think people understand, and it starts to rub off on people as well. Like if I was to just sit at home and stay on my computer and do work, my boys would just sit at home and be on their iPads, right?
Yeah.
Which is not good. But if I was to
No.
say, "Hey, let's go for a walk now. None of us have, done anything today, or let's go ride our bikes." I think it's a way to just get the family out. And if you don't have kids, then that's when you can like make it more creative with friends. Like, why always go and meet for a drink at the end of the week? Why not even do something as silly as bowling? But bowling's more
Yeah.
exercise than drinking, or pickleball.
Just
So
pick up like a really heavy ball.
heavy ball, and pickleball is so popular right now. And
Mhm.
going for a run with someone for a conference or a meeting is so cool. If you could be like, "Hey, let's take our conference call, you know, as a run."
Especially if you know you're in better shape than the other guy and it's a
And you can be
negotiation
like,
thing.
"Yeah,
No, it's
exactly.
there's negotiation. I'm just
There
gonna
you
run,
go."
wear them
Exactly.
out. So, are you, are you do you have any opinion around people who are more in an office setting or more,
It's harder, isn't it?
less mobile, no
Yeah.
pun intended, setting? Uh, is there a way that that you could kind of chunk in like mini? I know people call it like movement snacks or
Yeah,
whatever.
because they
Um,
talk about that NEAT, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, where
mm,
those little movements add up. So if
mm,
you build in these little breaks, like put a timer on your computer, and after every 50 minutes of work, you get up and you take a lap around your office, or you walk,
mhm,
whatever it is, or you go, maybe there's some stairs in your office building. You just run up and down the stairs a few seconds. Like that will get your heart rate up right away.
yeah,
Stairs in New York City was like the best way to stay in shape every time I had to take the subway. And
yeah,
today I had 10, 12 minutes to do a strength workout, and I just lifted heavy and I did an upper body workout, and it was 10 minutes, and I felt
wow,
I got a pretty good workout in that amount of time. So I don't think I mean, it might be unrealistic to tell that person at work to like keep a TheraBand in your drawer and do some like exercises with the TheraBand, or do a little bit of chair yoga when you can, or at the very least, just get up and do those. Just get out of your
yeah,
seat
yeah.
every 45 to 50 minutes.
I agree, and I think that is a good way, like a minimal effective dose as well,
Mhm.
as far as both mood and skin. I think
True.
um, adding those in are ways that I think they're both connected.
Mhm.
Your skin needs blood flow, your brain needs blood flow, but
Mhm.
I think the mood is a big part. Like that doesn't matter what happens during the day. I actually almost think drinking water is the same. I think there's something around,
Ooh, the second
there's
you
some
have a
connection. There's a
yeah.
connection between water getting into our body and some kind of reset. But these things, especially if they're have a religious habit that you don't, to quote the great Kobe Bryant, that you don't negotiate yourself with yourself
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
You've built in reset points that are devoid of what's happening in your day. And I
True.
think it is most important for people who have a structured, busy day, rather than someone that can say, you know what, the last meeting annoyed me. I'm going to hike my favorite mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, I do want to talk about a couple things, which is your book and the Kristin McGee movement.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Um, so your book is coming up. It hasn't been released yet,
The
right?
book is released on May 6th. And
Wow.
Wiley came to me and said, "Would you write a book on somatic exercises?" The
Mhm,
Wiley brand started the For Dummies way long ago. I think one of the very first ones was like Microsoft Word for Dummies, right? Like when
mhm,
people were first learning computer stuff.
mhm,
And because there's been a lot of stuff lately you'll see on TikTok and social media, and they're kind of trying to sell somatics in a way that's not
Yeah.
very, like weight loss or this or that. And
Yeah.
really, soma means of the body. And
Hmm.
so, again, it's about connecting with your body, slowing down enough to pay attention to what your body is telling you,
Hmm.
and more about working in as opposed to working out, more about the intentionality of what you're doing. It's not just for a result. Like, we all know that, especially too when people have these kind of quick fix ideas, or like, oh, I need to get in shape for bikini season. That usually falls
I
flat,
always think that, man.
right? But if you have an intrinsic value, if you have a reason and you value yourself and you are like, I want to be healthy and active so that I can continue to do these things with my kids, or to stay,
Yeah.
keep up with my kids, or to um, the longevity thing is such a huge component of it. I think, to have healthy heart, healthy lungs. Like, when you start to think about things from an internal point of view and think about your workouts um, benefiting yourself and your psyche and your mood, and you're listening to what your body is telling you, as opposed to like forcing your body to do things, or
Yeah.
expecting an external result, doing things only for an external reason. So there's so many different categories, and yoga in and of itself is a somatic
Hmm.
exercise. So we are connecting our mind and our body. We are listening into our bodies when we're doing the practice. But there's a lot of other things like Tai Chi. There's some really cool Feldenkrais method that I talk about, Alexander technique that I used to do
Yeah.
in school. That there's a lot of really neat somatic type therapies out there. And so I just introduce people to all of the different varieties and give examples and exercises, breathwork examples, meditation examples, all the different physical examples, things people can do.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
excited about that. And then my website, I just rebranded because I'd been with Peloton for 6 years, and I'm branching out on my own. And the idea that the reason why I called it movement as opposed to something like exercise, is that movement, when we have a movement of wanting to like make a change or make things better for everyone, it's so cool. Like,
yeah.
enough of us get together, even in the skincare, health, wellness, longevity, and we all
Hmm.
are here because we have a passion and we want
Hmm.
to create change. And movement does that, right? When we create a movement, we change things. And I think when we just, same thing with our bodies, when we're moving, that's how we affect change. That's how we create good habits. That's how we really have this amazing connection to ourselves. So we have the flow bucket, that's your mobility, your yoga, all of that. The sculpt bucket, that's the strength training, any sort of Pilates, yoga strength, yoga sculpt. And then the connection is the meditation point, or the
Wow.
bringing it all together. So that's
Yeah.
my ideal community, I think, or my goal. That's what I like to do personally. So I think it'd be nice to have a movement or a community that was also interested in those things.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree. I think the word movement it's also a more, I would call it like upstream
Yeah,
uh um um
I like that idea.
word, right? Because it you know
It's
it
positive.
begets, yeah, it begets any other kind of endeavor you're going to do within that would contribute to health, whether it is a
Yes.
community. And it's funny, like, Anastasia made me watch the Blue Zones Netflix
Okay.
series, and I'm sitting there, "Man, they've refuted this, they've refuted that." But it was a great show. But what bothered me was the fact that community was not one of them, like, wasn't given its due. The
Wasn't
fact
highlighted enough. Yeah.
that this is the number one cause for aging,
Mm-hmm.
for death,
Mm-hmm.
or the opposite, or people, there are communities
Thriving when they're in a really great
for,
community.
yeah.
And
So
we saw that happen during COVID,
yeah,
how hard it was for people's mental health to not
yeah.
have connection and community.
I'm wondering, what, as someone that really has a problem with, I'm just a contrarian, I would not be able to do what you did within a structure like Peloton. So I wonder what inspired you to branch out. What was the
Oh,
yeah.
so I mean, yeah, because Peloton was an amazing opportunity and experience. And I had reached out to the vice president of instructors and asked her if they were going to start a yoga component. And that's how we got yoga started on the platform. So I kind of feel like I brought my movement to Peloton. And then it was a great place for me to build community
Hmm.
and continue to do the things I'd already done because I'd already
Hmm.
been teaching yoga, Pilates, meditation for 20 plus years at that point. Um, and then I started to notice that there's only so far I could go within that community
Yeah.
because and if you don't have if you don't own a bike, a lot of people don't know that Peloton actually has yoga. I think it's very, it's got this incredible bike, and that's what people think about it when they first think of Peloton. And
Yeah.
so, and the price point for the bike is expensive. So again, people who don't have that or don't realize that they offer yoga or don't, it just felt like to me like I'd really gotten to this great point with them and kind of then felt like the need to maybe see what else I could do past that, if that makes any sense, which
Yeah.
is tough
Yeah.
because it's tough when you start to outgrow something or you just feel like, oh, maybe it's not the best fit anymore for me. Um, but so that's when I was like, let's just try. Let's just see what happens. And then
Yeah.
also being a single mom of three boys and thinking about where I might want to raise them, what I might want to, how I want to
Yeah.
support them ongoing. Because then again, too, with these corporations, you never know. What if Peloton doesn't want to do yoga in a year? Like maybe the bike is the only thing that's doing their best. Or what if, things change? And so I thought
Yeah.
it's kind of nice when you have at least a little bit more ownership.
Yeah.
You get
I
it.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we are more practical with um with your practices, your go-to practices.
Mhm.
We did speak a little bit about it, but I'm wondering what are your go-to as far as like grounding, energizing,
Okay.
and really rejuvenating, maybe
Yep.
especially when you're short on time as you are, but also in general.
Well, this funny thing is there's that quote about meditation that if you don't think you have 5 minutes to meditate, you should be meditating for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I, no matter what, 2 20-minute meditation practices a day. And
Wow.
I'm a busy mom. I'm a mom of three boys, but I get up early enough to fit in my 20-minute meditation. That's my first thing I do every day. And then I'll start to get myself organized, start to get the boys organized. I always figure out a time, a way to fit in some movement no matter what. And but I feel like I feel like it's the meditation that's made probably the
Nice.
biggest impact in my life. And that second meditation is a reset button for me. And it really does make a difference to get another one in middle of the day before the next, half of your day. So I
Hmm.
found that those two things have made, and it's interesting, ironically enough, when I do them, when I get those two meditation practices in a day, I'm clearer. I'm more focused. I do end up getting more done. I do have more, calm energy. Um, and it just kind of opens up space in my day.
Love it.
Doesn't
Yes.
have to be 20 minutes, but I would recommend if people can try to start implementing that, get a little something in the morning, another little check in midday, and just experiment with
Amen.
that and just do it every day. It's as
From
easy
it,
as brushing your teeth in the morning, brushing your teeth at night.
yeah. If you brush your teeth for 20 minutes, your teeth are going to be amazing.
That would be
Um,
amazing. Could you imagine?
I would say within the scope of longevity, any marker, probably it's hyperbolic, but really any marker that they have tried to look at,
Mm-hmm.
whether meditation or mindfulness practices, whether they impacted, the answer was a resounding yes.
Oh,
Anything
well, that makes
from
me
your
so happy to hear.
yeah, from your telomere length to age like AGEs, which are
Wow.
sugar molecules that attach to collagen and give you wrinkles.
Okay.
Um, to your brain health and how you learn it and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
mentioned midday, so um, I forget how it's called in yoga, but there is a kind of a I'm blanking on it, but there is a way to have kind of a guided meditation, like a rest
Oh,
meditation.
like yoga nidra.
Yoga Nidra. So
Very healthy.
they
Very good
actually,
for you.
yeah, they did it on Yoga Nidra midday, and I think 20 minutes were equal to 90 minutes of more
Rest.
sleep at night.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
something crazy.
be
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I like to say about like you cannot misprescribe. I don't know if that's a word even, meditation to people. Because
Hmm.
no matter what, you're going to benefit from getting to know yourself, connecting to yourself, the stress release, right? Like I could say, oh, eat breakfast every morning. But you know what? Some people that might not fit their,
Yeah.
some people might do okay with intermittent fasting. So I hate to say things like, you almost hate to give nutrition advice at a certain point because
Yeah.
everybody is so unique and different. And you
And
almost hate
religious about it.
and
Like,
religious
and
about it. And you almost
yeah.
hate to say to someone, this is the one thing that changed my life. You
Yeah.
got to do it because chances are, who knows? But with meditation, that is the one thing I could say. It's not going to hurt anyone to meditate.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I agree. Uh, so maybe to finish, I have a few, I
Okay.
think a little bit more like fun
Rapid
things
fire.
too.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think one myth about yoga or movement in general that you wish would disappear forever?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right?
Um, I would just, you know what I would say? I think the one myth that I would like to disappear is that I do think it's okay for every shape, size, gender, age, right? I think movement doesn't discriminate.
Wow.
For the person
Well,
who's like, I
yeah.
can't move because of this, or I can't move because of that. Like, I just kind of feel like everyone can move in some way, in some capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me, do you know there's this WWE wrestler. His name is Diamond Dallas Page. That
Okay.
he was like, I don't know if he was handicapped or he was very much on the way there.
Mm-hmm.
And he started doing yoga and regained all of his function back.
Wow,
And now, by the way, the guy that's what he does. He goes around like,
that's so
it's yoga.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so great, fantastic. I have another question that I have is, do you think stillness is as important as movement for longevity, even for beauty? But
100%. I think
yeah,
there's the balance that
yeah,
we need to find the effort and the ease,
yeah.
the movement and the stillness.
Okay. And if you could only do one movement or pose every day for um, beauty, posture, presence, what would it be?
At first I was about to say headstand, but maybe I'm going to now say shoulder stand. It's becoming one of my favorite postures because it's putting our feet up above us. So it's an
Yeah.
inversion. So because so often gravity's pulling us down.
Mm-hmm.
So to put the feet up above and let the blood flow in reverse, but then
Mm-hmm.
shoulder stand requires a lot of upper body um shoulder strength
Mm-hmm.
that's not rotated inward. So
Yeah.
it's getting that external rotation. It's good for posture.
Yeah.
Stimulates the thyroid because the throat comes up against the chin.
Hmm.
And you have to use your legs and your core and your entire body to keep your legs straight up above you so that they're not falling towards you. So it's really a full body hard exercise to do, but it's the mother of the asanas where headstand is the father or the king and shoulder
Yeah.
stand is the queen. So I'm in this phase of like mothering ourselves and rejuvenating ourselves. And shoulder stand, if you hold it for a minute, it's tough.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Which I cannot. So I agree. Okay. We're on to the last thing, which is kind of a lightning round.
Okay.
So you don't need to like one we covered, which is maybe it's a different one, but what is your favorite yoga pose right now? So would you say it's the shoulder stand or
Shoulder
something?
stand. I'm also trying to think of my other favorite yoga pose. I mean, I always love a hip opener. So I would say pigeon.
Nice.
Hmm.
I love pigeon. Movement you hated but learned to love.
That's running.
Wow.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. Morning must have coffee, breath work, or movement?
I'd say all three.
Amen. Best advice you've ever gotten about aging gracefully?
Recently, someone told me that I'm aging in, not aging out. So I think that keeping a youthful energy, a youthful approach, a youthful mindset, because people
Mhm.
get to this point where they start to think, oh, I'm aging out of this, or I'm too
Mm,
old for this, or I can't do this. Instead, it's like, no, I'm just coming into myself. No, I'm just finding myself. Oh, no, I'm youthful. I'm young. It's that keeping a youthful energy.
yeah, yeah. I don't know I don't remember who said that, but there's a saying that I think you need to live a little bit with in order to really understand, which is today is the tomorrow I was so afraid of yesterday.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, someone famous said it anyway.
Yeah.
But you are wherever you are right now. That's where this is the same. The same saying goes: you
Mm-hmm.
are standing, where your feet are standing, where your mind stood beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's like,
So keeping that youthful energy
yeah,
mindset is going to help you. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. You
Yeah.
want to be more youthful in the future, like you kind
Like
of,
more. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
You're
Kristen,
awesome. Thank you so much.
you are awesome, and hopefully we'll see each other in person soon.
Renee, keep me posted.
Indeed, yes, I
Yes.
will. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Oh,
Thank you.
is there any? How can people?
Oh, I'm
Uh,
KristinMcGee.com,
KristinMcGee.com.
KristinMcGee.com, McGee.com, and Kristin McGee on Instagram,
Mhm.
and Kristin McGee on Substack.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much. It's so
Kristen.
good to see you.
You too. Bye bye.
Thank you.